this needs to be studied. Like, why do I keep binge reading her books? Everyone needs a Maddie in their life. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, welcome. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Anvita. I love to read books, I love to buy books, I love to talk about books, and yeah, welcome to my channel. Today's video is gonna be a July wrap-up, as you can tell by the title. Yeah, so let's get into it, but first, my shirt. I bought this a couple days back. If you follow my Instagram, you already know about it, but yeah, bring reading back. Anyways, let's get started. In July, I read 15 books, which is the same amount of books that I read in June, because I also read 15 books in June. The number of pages I read in July were 4,371. My top 3 moods were emotional, lighthearted, and funny. More medium paced than fast paced, or no slow paced books. Every book I read was fiction. Yeah, I don't know. I was talking about this the other day with other people, but I remember like reading a lot of, or like a lot more than now. Like I used to read a lot more fiction and like actively try and read more fiction in like 2021, 2022 also kind of. But then I think last year and this year, I've barely read any nonfiction. So I'm gonna try and read more of it in the latter half of this year, hopefully. I've already started one, which I'll talk about in my August wrap-up. But yeah, anyways. So my top 3 genres for July were romance, fantasy, and LGBTQ. Valid. Most of the books, no, a lot of the books this time were not physical books, just because I was moving and then I still don't have my physical books with me. So a lot of this video is not gonna be like, even though I read the physical book of some of them, for some of them, I won't be able to show them because they're still in transit. And yeah, just counting down the days till I get my books back. But yeah, a lot of the books were still physical, more physical than non-physical books, or like ebooks or audiobooks. And but still a lot of ebooks and audiobooks from Libby in this latter half of July, because I didn't have a lot of physical books with me then. Yeah, my average rating for July was 4.23, which is pretty great. I'm seeing 6 5-star reads, 6 4-star reads, and then there's nothing below 3 stars. So crazy month. Good in terms of quality as well, I guess. Can't remember what 6 books I gave 5 stars, but I'm easy to please, so I can see that. And then this is what my day-to-day reading looked like. A lot of ups and downs. Yeah, like a crazy amount. Yeah, and then that's all for the stats that I got from Storygraph. So let's get on with the actual books that I read in July. Okay, so first 2 books for July. I think I'd mentioned this in my June wrap-up, but I was going through like a big webtoon phase, and so I was reading a lot on webtoon. So the first 2 books that I read in July is like season 1 and season 2 of this webtoon called She's Hopeless, which I really enjoyed. I don't remember much about it because I like binge read it like one night when I was like half delirious kinda. So I don't remember it, but I do remember enjoying it. So, oh, okay. Looking at the cover now, I remembered. This was basically about this guy who's like training or like in the school for like becoming a bodyguard or something, like in like high school. Like that's his like specialty. And then this girl who's like rich and like is living with her grandmom, but like she's like a troublemaker or whatever. So the grandmom hires the guy to like go to her school and be her friend and like secretly be her bodyguard, and like things transpire from that. So it was really fun. It was very K-drama vibes, of course, so I enjoyed it. Yeah, so those are the first 2 books of July. Then I also mentioned this, I think, in my TBR pick, like for my July hopefuls, which also, by the way, I should mention, that completely got derailed because of my move. I was planning on reading the books I picked out with my TBR jar, and then because I was moving, I couldn't bring all those books with me. So I really thought my books would come by the time there was still like a week of July left, and then I would get to read some of the books that I picked out in my July hopefuls. But it's still not here, so a lot of the books I wasn't able to read because I don't have them with me right now. And so yeah, anyways, one of the books in my TBR July hopefuls pick was the Atlas 6, and then I'd mentioned like I need to see if my audiobook hold for it comes through or not, because I've already read the Atlas 6, but I'd read the indie published version of it, so I was waiting for the audiobook so I could reread the first book with the audiobook, and then I would continue the series. And literally, like, I think the day I posted it or the day after I posted that video, my hold for the audiobook came through on Libby. So I ended up reading the Atlas 6, which was the 3rd book of July. Loved it, still felt all the feelings I felt like while I was reading it that I'd felt when I read it for the first time in like 2021. And yeah, so good, so fun. Love all the characters, love Parissa, of course. And yeah, excited to read more of it. And so I read the 2nd book, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, okay, anyways, 4th book of July was again still in my webtoon phase, kind of. This is when my webtoon phase slowly ended, but I reread this. So I didn't realize I'd already read this until like I was through a bit of it, and then I was like, wait, I don't remember how this ends, so let me just keep continuing it. So I reread the webtoon season 1 of webtoon Seasons of Blossom, which is Bomi's flower, and so I loved it. I loved it a lot even when I read it the first time, and I loved it a lot even when I read it this time. So good, so fun. Love the stereotype subversion and like the way it handled it and all that. And yeah, super fun. Had a great time. But yeah, this was, I think, the last webtoon I read. And then I was like planning or like thinking of whether I should read season 2 of this, because I've already read the rest of the series, so I wasn't sure, and then like slowly just forgot about it. And so my webtoon phase ended here for now. We'll probably definitely have another one again at some point, so yeah, maybe I'll continue season 2 then. But yeah, anyways, that was book 4 of July, Seasons of Blossom season 1. And then book 5 was the Atlas Paradox, which is book 2 in the Atlas 6 series. This was my first time reading it. I'd only read the first book when I read it for the first time in 2021. So this was my first time reading it. And this one fell a little bit out of order for me. I feel like it was like, I mean, it was dense, which I don't have an issue with, but like there was some things that I think it had like a hard time conveying. Like the entire time, like I was thinking like this is happening in like a short amount of time, like in 1 month or something, and then suddenly it's like, oh, an entire year has passed, and then Libby has been in the past for like months and like all that stuff, and then just like felt kind of all over the place for me and didn't give me the same, like it, like story wise it felt very filler, and then like what is even happening at some points, and then like the entire year has passed but like nothing has really happened, and like I don't know, it felt kind of all over the place for me. But yeah, it was still good. The writing was still good. I still enjoyed it, but like, yeah, what was happening there? I don't know. Anyways, I haven't read the book. I haven't read the third book yet, but it's still not here. So I don't know when I'll read it, but most probably sometime this year. I think maybe like September or October, we'll see. But yeah, I haven't read book 3 yet. So hopefully the conclusion will be good. But yeah, this one felt a little less compared to the Atlas 6. So, okay. That was book 5 of July. And then book 6 was a very sad book. I think this was also in the TBR pick. I'm not completely sure. But I read As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Katu. This was so good. I think the writing felt very YA and very like easy to read and grasp, but the content of it was so hard and like so just hard to read and like, you know, so important still, that like I think the difference between like the voice being so YA versus like the content being so was like really well done and really like got a lot of the points across that I was trying to get. And yeah, just really loved it and like loved the characters and like the way the story evolved. And like I don't remember which video I'd said this in, but in one of the videos I'd mentioned, oh, I think it was my mid-year freakout tag, I'd mentioned that a book hasn't made me cry ever, like actual tears have come out of my eyes. This book did that for me. And yeah, so I think everyone should read it in general, but like, yeah, if you want like a sad book, that I would recommend this, but I think everyone should read it. Yeah, anyways, next was book 7 of July, which was the short story in Atlas 6 series called Sacred Hospitality. This was just like a quick fun read, just getting more Libby and what's his name? Wow, Nick? No. Was it Nick? I can't believe I've forgotten his name. Yeah, so I read Sacred Hospitality, which is like the prequel short story kind of, you know, just like a slice of life about each of the characters before the events of Atlas 6. And just like, yeah, I had a fun time. I enjoyed seeing Libby and Nico, that's his name. Libby and Nico in their, you know, bickering, fighting moments, and Gideon, sweet Gideon, always there. Yeah, it was just a fun short story. Not much happened. Yeah, okay. Anyways, that was book 7 of July, and then book 8 of July was Legends and Lattes, which may have also been a TBR pick, but I can't be completely sure. But yeah, this was a cozy fantasy book about coffee shops, making your own coffee shop in a fantasy world. Sweet, yeah, it was just sweet and fun. I had a fun, cozy time with it. Yeah, like there's not much to say. Like the stakes are not high. There's nothing. It's just a fun time. Like if you're looking for just like fun, cozy vibes, I would recommend it. But if you're wanting like the typical aspects of fantasy with like, I don't know, where the stakes are high, I guess, this is not it. I was looking for cozy and I was looking for heartwarming and, you know, something lighthearted just after all the denseness of Atlas 6. This was like perfect and like it delivered completely for me. So I really enjoyed it. It also ended on a good note for me. So I'm not sure when I will read the second book in this, but most probably when I'm in need of a pick-me-up or like when I need like a warm, cozy book. I'm probably gonna pick it up then, but not anytime soon unless I'm in the mood for that. So yeah, that was book 8 of July. Then book 9 of July was my first book back in Dubai. So I read an ebook Libby version of The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich, which was so good and so fun. I loved it. The artwork was great. The story was great. I just loved it. Like the entire the references to cheese was already really funny to me, but then also just like the storyline and then the queer take on it and like just everything about it was so good. Like yeah, I definitely want to reread it again at some point and like maybe get the physical book at some point. Like it was so good and so fun. So yeah, that was book 9 of July. And then book 10 of July was another fun, very fun queer read called Briefly a Delicious Life. This book was so interesting and so fun. It's told from the POV of a ghost who, like, she died in 1400s, and then this like is set in like 1800s, I think, or 1800s, I'm pretty sure. And so she's like haunting this house, or like this I'm forgetting the word that they used, but like this complex where like monks used to live, and like now this couple and their kids have moved in there, and like the ghost falls in love with the woman, and like it's queer and it's just so eccentric and fun, and like the voice of the character is so fun, and I just loved the ghost and like just her take on things, and it was funny and it was just so good. And like the fact that like the couple that, you know, moved into the place are like people who were actually in history, like George Sand and Chopin. Like I just, yeah, it was so good. It was so fun. I had such a wonderful time reading it. I would highly recommend it. Yeah, that was book 10 of July. And then I read a dark academia book called The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. This book has been on my TBR for quite a while. I saw like a couple friends of mine read and review this, and they said really good things about it. And it was described as the Raven Boys and Ninth House in its Goodreads description. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like my kind of book. So I ended up reading it. In terms of like dark academia and like the vibes of it and like the atmosphere, it was really good. But there are some things that I thought it was lacking. I spoke a lot about this book in my reading vlog, so you can check that out if you want more details about this book. But yeah, I enjoyed the book for its setting and like atmosphere and stuff, but not so much for like its development and like character arc and things like that. So yeah, but I did enjoy the writing, so I'm excited to read other works by this author hopefully soon. So we shall see. Then I read a short story called A Spindle Splintered, and this was book 1 in like a duology about fairy tale retellings, and this one was based on Sleeping Beauty, and it was queer and it was just so fun and so good, and like it had like multiverse kind of thing. Yeah, like I don't know how to explain it. Like it was just so fun. Like I'm like having a tough time explaining it right now, but I did. Again, my reading vlog, you can check that out. The next couple books you can check out in my reading vlog because I talk a lot about them in that, since I was reading it then. But yeah, A Spindle Splintered, very fun book. I'm excited to read book 2. I just got the Libby hold for book 2, so I'm very excited to read it. But yeah, short story, like 110 pages approximately, I think. really fast read, fun characters. The friendship in it is so good and like so well portrayed. I loved it so much. Like, yeah. And then just the queer plot of it as well is just so good. Yeah, I loved it. So okay, that was book 10, 11, 12. That was book 12 of July. And then I read another graphic novel that came through on Libby. It's called If You'll Have Me. This was also so fun and such a quick read. I read it in one sitting, and again, it was queer, but I had no idea it was queer when I picked it up. I saw it on like Twitter, and then I was like, yeah, I need to read this book. And so I got it, and it turned out to be queer, and it was just so good and so fun. I loved the artwork. I loved the style of it. I love the story too. I love the characters and their growth, and like just the way the relationship evolves in it is so nice. And yeah, highly recommend if you're looking for a sweet queer graphic novel. So yeah. And then I finally read 2 books that I have physical books of right now. The first one was I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang, my 3rd Anne Liang book. You can tell by the annotations how much I loved it. I read this in one sitting, and I mentioned this on Instagram, I think, that I literally started this at night and thought, okay, let me read 1 chapter before I go to bed or whatever. And then next thing I knew, it was like 2 a.m. and I'd finished the book. And yeah, it's something about her books. I don't know what it is. Drugs, maybe? I don't know what she puts in them, but I just can't seem to not put them down. Like, no, I just can't seem to put them down. Like, they're so good, they're so bingeable, and they just make me keep wanting more. Like, I can't stop reading them. Like, I'm so obsessed with her books. And this is, I think, the first 2 books that she released, If You Could See the Sun and This Time It's Real. I read both of those, I think, in June and spoke about them, and they also were the same, where like I thought, oh, let me read something lighthearted and something, you know, soft, like before I go to bed, and then I binge read them in one night. So yeah, this needs to be studied. Like, why do I keep binge reading her books? But yeah, very excited for her other works. I know she's releasing a fantasy-esque book soon, and then also another book called I'm Not Jessica Chen, which I'm excited for both. Yeah, feel like her books definitely I will always end up loving. So yeah, new author by author, new fave book, highly recommend. Yeah, it's so good. And just the rivals to lovers, like the way she does it is so good, and so like there's just something about it, like it's so fun. But yeah, highly recommend I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. Yeah, and then the last book that I read in July, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This also, look at that annotation. crazy amount. This was my book club book for Fable called Anvita's Book Corner. You can check the link below if you want to join. We're going to be reading You with a View by Jessica Joyce in August. So if anyone's interested in reading that with us, join at the link below. But yeah, this was my book club book for July. I had such a fun time reading it. It didn't make me cry, but it almost got me there. Like, it made me tear up almost. Like, I was feeling the emotions, you know? I was feeling it, and like I was shocked. Like the end, like the last 50 pages maybe was like insane. Crazy. Was not expecting that at all. Yeah, literally actually insane. But I loved Justin. Literally the greenest flag I've read in a book in a long time. Love him, love their banter so much, so much, and just, yeah, love the kids, loved her. I loved Emma. And Maddie at first I hadn't liked as much, or like her and like Emma's relationship didn't feel authentic in like the first bit, but then like the most of the book I started understanding, and like I loved Maddie by the end. Like she is great, she is amazing. Everyone needs a Maddie in their life. Yeah, so good. Really enjoyed it. I'm excited to read the other books in this series now, and other books by the author. This is my first book by this author, so yeah, really looking forward to reading other books by this author very soon. But yeah, just love the conversations in this. The banter was really good too, like the light-hearted moments, but also like the heavy moments were written so well. Yeah, I just, yeah, really loved it. Yeah, so freaking good. Anyways, since I only have these 2 books in my April wrap-up, I can only do this. But yeah, the 2 physical books I have with me right now. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this wrap-up. I think it was kind of all over the place, but it's fine. It's fine. That was all the books, the 15 books that I read this month. I'm really excited for August. Hopefully my books will come back in time, and then I can properly read more of my physical books. But yeah, I have a few with me now since I bought some, and since I had some over at my sister's house. So I'm hoping to read a good chunk of my physical TBR, but I also have some Libby holes that came through, so we shall see. My goal for August, some of them at least, is to read at least 1 or 2 non-fiction books, and then read some of the physical TBR that I already have with me here. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, and read You with a View by Jessica Joyce for my book club. That is also my first time reading a Jessica Joyce book, but I've heard really good things about it on Bookstagram through my friends, so I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time for my next video, which will be next Monday at 5 p.m. IST. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it.